Good morning. So today we are doing the Uddhav Gita. Now we had completed a previous chapter. That was chapter 16 from the Uddhav Gita. Today we are starting a new chapter, that is chapter 17. This time what we are going to do is we are going to understand the different categories that are there in the spiritual creation. So when Purusha and Prakriti started this action of creation, how did it go about and what exactly transpired during that time? So we will get an understanding of this subject. This is slightly a subject which is not having too much of uh, what can I say, teachings as such, but it is a distinction between one and the other. So we will just get the picture. So we will begin with chapter 17. So we are doing the Uddhav Gita. It's a new chapter, chapter 17. Now Uddhava is going to say something to Krishna. Uddhava said, how many are the categories enumerated by the sages? O Lord of this universe, O Lord, regarding this, I hear that thou speakest of 28 divided into 9, 11, 5, and 3. So we will do the next verse also, verse 2 and then verse 3 also. So we will get a clear understanding of what is the question that Uddhava is asking Sri Krishna. Some speak of 26, others 25, some speak of 7, some 9 or 6 or 4, or others 11, some speak of 17 or 16, and some again 13. Verse 3 says, thou shouldst tell me, O immortal one, the purpose which the sages have in view in thus definitely enumerated them. So this is a question which Uddhava is asking Sri Krishna. The question seems like a little odd, isn't it? Because he is talking about the number of sages that have said about these different categories. Now, when we talk of categories, categorization means differentiation between one and the other. Like, say, for example, the air is different than water, isn't it? So, that will be one category, this is another category. Sri Krishna says there are 28 categories. How many? 28 different categories. But he says there are others who talk of 11, 5, sometimes 3, some 26, 25, 7, 9, 6, 4, 11, 17, 16, and 13. So many different categories are mentioned by the different sages. Here just a quick understanding for you. The sages from different sects, that is they have definitely, like there are Mimamsakas, there are different kinds of sects are there. They all have their own way of understanding the same thing. It is the same object. The object is the same, but they describe it in a different manner. Now, why does a person describe it in a different manner? Let me give you one simple understanding here. Suppose if I have to meet a person, hmm, that is a very beautiful person, a beautiful lady. Now, if I have to look at that person, I will describe certain characteristics of her. So, what is it that I observe about her? Maybe I observe her eyes, maybe I observe her face, or there are different other things that I can observe. So, I am going to enumerate only those few characteristics, isn't it? So, I have seen the face and the hair and her and the way she walks, maybe. This is my observational skills. Some other person will say, oh, you've seen the color of her eyes? Yes. Somebody else will say, do you know she has got a slight squint? So there are people who will find faults also. There are people who will say that she is very beautiful. So the same object is seen from a different perspective by different people. Likewise, in spiritual also, sages differ from each other because of what they observe, their observational skills, and the way they put something in front and something at the back. So that is the way how everything is done. Some people give importance to certain things, and some people don't give importance to certain things. So those who give importance to certain things, they feel that that has got more value. So we all value everything. So let us say, for example, there are young men over here. Now, if I ask them, no, you want to get married, what kind of a girl do you want? Or if I ask a girl, what kind of a man would you like to marry? And she will enumerate those different things. He will also enumerate. And in that category, so did you understand where the word category came? So many categories are formed. So in this universe also, when the sages were describing the creation and the different objects of creation, they categorized it. And everybody's way of looking at it is different. So we cannot say that one person is right and the other one is wrong. We should never judge a person just because he's saying that, oh, that person has got a very straight nose. Have you seen how big that nose is? Well, that is that individual's observation, not yours. Maybe you are looking at some other object, right? So it's the same thing when tomorrow, when some you want to send your children to school or college. How do you send them? What exactly is the way in which you select the schools? See, when you have kids, you want to send them to a good school. Some people say, I want to have the school the closest to my house. Why? Because then I can just drop them and bring them back. Just walk across and drop them and bring them back. Some person will say, no, I want to send them to a school over here. This area has got a good school. They teach this subject, this subject, this subject. Somebody else will say, oh, my friend is a principal in one school, so I will send my children to that school. Everybody's criterias are different. So did you observe that? So how do people distinguish between one and another? It's the way in which they have a hierarchy of things. Hierarchy. Some people will think that distance is good. So they will say, I will put my child in a boarding school. Some people will say, distance is bad, so I will just put them in the school just across the road. Correct? So again, it differs. What exactly do you want to prioritize? So your priorities have to be clear. Now, in all this, the spiritual masters from the past, the yogis who did the research, they researched from their perspective. Remember, everybody is an individual born as a human being. All these yogis, all these spiritual masters were born as a human being. So when they are born as a human being, they have their own, narrow width, the narrow bands in which they operate. So they cannot see the whole universe as a different one. They only look at a narrow band. And when they look at a narrow band, that is what they are good at. It is yesterday when I was talking to someone, the person said, why are there people who are very good in certain subjects? Because they do 12 hours study in that subject. Suppose there is a person who is a painter. So this person will keep on painting for 12 hours, 13 hours at a stretch. That is the kind of effort they put in one object. So that is called the single pointed devotion. And depending on that subject, that is where they will be. So let us take, for example, somebody is doing, say, graduation in, like I did, in chemistry. So somebody who is doing graduation in chemistry, what is the subject that they can take up afterwards if they have to go for higher studies? So everybody's perspective will be different. Some person will say, oh, I am getting a job in my near pharmaceutical or in a chemical company, so I will take up this subject so that it will help me get the job. One criteria. Second criteria is, no, I want to do research. So I want to become a research chemist. So they will go in a different direction. The third one will say, can I take up biochemistry? Now that has nothing to do with chemistry, it is more to do with biology. So the biochemistry is slightly a different subject. Some people will say, oh, I want to do something which is called biochemical engineering or some such kind of a weird subject. Yes, you can do that as well. Somebody will say, I want to do the physico-chemical principles, that is called PCP. That will help me in studying the processes, how this thing works. Again, that is a different subject. So now I have given you an understanding. So which one is your priority? And your priorities are dependent on circumstances and the way you are built. So the way you are built, you will always go in that direction. And that is the reason why this question has come up to Uddhava. Uddhava is asking, Krishna, these things are there. Why are there so many different varieties? Say you said it was 28, somebody says 17, somebody says 3, somebody said 7, somebody says 9, 10, 11. Whatever number they want, they are quoting. But can you tell me exactly what this is? So we move to the next answer. So this is what the question has been. Can you please let me know how many categories I should think of? So Krishna is now going to give an answer. So we are doing chapter 17 from the Uddhav Gita. This is verse 4. The Lord said, howsoever the sages may speak, it is quite in order, for all the categories are included in every enumeration. And what is impossible for those who speak accepting my wonder working Maya? So here Sri Krishna is answering Uddhava in a manner where he says, don't worry. See, the sages are allowed to speak whatever they want to. They can say whatever they feel like. Whoever has said there are 5, 10 or whatever, that is perfect as far as they are concerned. At the end of the line, who is it that is going to distinguish all this? It is called Maya. So those who attended my yesterday's, satsang on the Das Bodh will remember this particular incident. Maya, she is the creatrix of this whole whatever mess that is there around us. It's like a, Belpuri. Okay. She creates this wondrous kind of a thing. All right. Now, what is this wondrous thing? Sometimes the child will say, Mummy, I want idli. So mother says, okay, fine. And she makes a batter. She will make the idli and give the child. The other child will say, I don't want idli, I want dosa. The same batter is used, slightly diluting it and making it into a dosa. Somebody else will say, I don't like dosas, they are very thin, crispy. I like something which is thicker. But I don't want idli, I want thicker. So she will make an uttapam. All right. Somebody says, oh, I don't like just plain uttappa. It tastes like just the dosa and something. Can I have some onion uttappa? So she puts some onion on top of it and gives that. Somebody else will say, I don't like this. Okay, then what do you like? I don't like the South Indian food, Oh, is it? You don't like South Indian food? Then what do you like? Can I get dhokla? It is easy. The same batter can be used for making dhokla. You may not know this, but it is across the board the same thing. Why? Because that is how it is. You just have to put a little bit of chana dal, you know that chana gram flour in it. Same batter, put gram flour in it, put a little eno. You know the eno that you drink for clearing your stomach and you know the gases and all. The same eno you put in that batter and then you steam it. Same thing becomes dokla. So what is the big deal in that? Somebody will say, I want appam, I want something else, you know, kuli panyaram. Oh my God, so many things. Did you understand what I'm saying? It is the same blessed thing. Just a little twist here or a twist there. A little ingredient here, a little ingredient there. At the end of the day, it is the same framework. So Maya has this very strange ability of twisting the framework according to their individual tastes. So yesterday when we were doing this, Das Bodh, I gave an understanding where I said, Samartha Ramdas says that whatever you can think of any creature. You can get angry with people. You can get upset. You can shout at them. You can curse them and call them names. You say a lot of things. Do you know every time when you open your mouth and say something good or bad, those creatures get produced in this world? Yes. Now, what do you mean by the creatures? Now, if you recollect, just prior to this, there was the Saptashati going on, in which they found that there is a character called Raktabij. Now, every time when you cut off one portion of his body, okay, let us say you cut off his finger, from that the blood oozes, and every drop of blood creates a demon because he is a demon, and every drop creates a demon. Isn't that what is true for you also? You will ask me, how is that possible? Well, look at your DNA. Okay? With your DNA sample, in the future, in the near future, very close future, we will be able to create clones out of you. What makes you think that you can't do that? So you are also literally like a Rakta Bij, isn't it? Rakta, you have the Rakta, and inside the Rakta is your DNA. And with that DNA, we can replicate you. So now think about what Maya is doing just now. Maya can twist and turn whatever you say also. You say that, this person is a very bad person. I wish he dies. Now you have said these words. You actually don't realize what you have done. Because human beings, they are not so intellectual. They don't have the knowledge, which is called the knowledge of the spiritual or the knowledge of higher than that, which is called jnana and vijnana. If everybody had jnana and vijnana, then this whole world would be a very beautiful place. But we are not. Human beings are fallible. So they say something. Mar jaye. Person says, just go and die, man. Why are you here in this world? You have said these words many a times. You don't know. Let this person go and fall in the ditch. Have you said these words? Let this person fall in the ditch. Let him go into the gutters. You have said these words, and they were said in anger. Maya is the creatrix of all these things. She says, this God, this person, who is the small portion of the divine, has said, let that other person go into the gutters. I will definitely put that person in the gutters. But Maya herself will not do. Maya herself doesn't do anything. Maya does what is called, she's got so many assistants, by the way. They have got a whole load of assistants. Maya is the CEO. Why will the CEO dirty their hands? They have so many assistants in so many departments. So she instructs a particular department and says, tell this person to create that ditch for this person. And there you have it. So this person falls in his life. Who is responsible? Whoever has said those words is responsible. Now, please remember one thing. If you are a boss or if you are somebody who is in charge of something, and if you tell another person, you tell someone, okay, you say, go and kill that person. You are the Don, you go and tell, kill that person and come. Then what happens? Are you not responsible for the action which you have initiated? So from your mouth, you said the words, let that person go in a ditch. Maya listened to those words. Maya creates the ditch and the person responsible for putting that person. Because you need tools. Tools are those demons. Tools are the demons. They are called demons. Actually, they are not demons. They are the ones who are doing the job. So she creates these tools so that this person can go in the ditch. Why did you have to say that? Well, you were angry, that is why you said it. You don't have control over your tongue, that is why you said it. You don't have control over your mind, that is why you said these ugly words. They culminate into action. Remember, if your words have created that action, the karma is yours. I was saying just now, if you are the Don and if you told your downline to go and kill someone, whose karma is it? The Don's karma. He has initiated the action. Got it? So the buck stops with you. So every time when you say something bad, you are actually making those things converted into karma. The actions that happen along the path, they are not the karma of that person, but yours. So you have created this. Who is going to pay for those damages? You have to pay for those damages because you did something which was not required to be done. The material world functions in a particular manner. Some people will make a distinction. So that distinction I will just clear in a minute or two. So whatever words you said culminated into action. The action happens to that other individual, but you get the repercussions because it is your karma. Suppose you don't like a person and you say, let that person die. And actually that person dies. Alright? The death of that person will be your karma. You made it happen. The buck will stop at you. But you will say, those were just words. I never meant anything like that. It is not about meaning or not meaning. You have to be careful what you speak. Isn't it true? If you do not mind your tongue and your language and the thoughts which are escaping your mind, who is responsible for the damage that is caused in this world? You are. So you better be very careful how you speak. Alright? Because if you do not understand the repercussions, then karma is standing knocking at your door. Karma will take you on a journey and you will have to suffer for it. So why get into these kind of traps with people who don't even matter to you? You have said those words to that person because that person might have done something wrong. Why should it matter to you? Now, there are some great people here who will think, Guruji, but you are saying something wrong because they have learnt a little bit of spirituality. Little knowledge in spiritual is not good. So that little bit of spirituality they understood, they will say, Guruji, what you are saying is called destiny. It's called destiny. It was bound to happen. That person was supposed to die. That is why he died. That is called destiny. Then why are you blaming me? I never did anything. That was bound to happen to that person, except that these words came from my mouth because God wanted me to say those words. This is the distinction which they make. Why? Because they have lesser knowledge, they do not have perfect knowledge in spiritual. Little knowledge is dangerous. So just because you are now twisting the knowledge which you have got from one department, you're putting it in over here and saying like that. Let me correct you over here. It is not that that person is not destined to die. That person is destined to die. See what I'm saying? That individual was destined to die. That death was inevitable. But you were nowhere in the picture. You were nowhere in the picture. That person's death was programmed at that hour, but because of the action that you seem to think that person has done for you and your interpretation by the mind, you got involved in that action. You may not understand what I'm saying, so let me give you a clear scenario. There is a fight going on the streets. There are fights going on in the streets. Two people are fighting with each other. So one person is giving bashing to the other person. So this person has got 4 people with him. And that person, is poor fellow, is alone. So 4 plus 1, 5 people are bashing one guy up. When that is happening, some people from the other person's side come and they start fighting. Now you have a sense of, say, that person is right. I should take his side. So you try to poke yourself in the middle of this fight. And you try to put these 2 people aside. Hey, don't fight. Hey, don't fight. So you interfered in the fight. Got it? And then what happens? The whole fight becomes, all these 2 parties get together and bash you up. Because you came in the middle. Why are you trying to put yourself in the middle of this fight? So did you get this answer? When husband and wife are fighting, some other person from outside will try to, goad the wife or the husband, and then they try to create that more fire in that place. And finally, at the end of the day, that person becomes a villain. This is exactly what happens. Though the destiny had programmed that person's death, but because you interfered in it with your words and your thoughts, you became a part of that person's karma. Why are you interfering? You are just supposed to do your job and get out of that place. Why do you want to get yourself entangled in the material world? That was not your concern, and yet you got into it. Now, some of you may not understand what I am saying. So for them, I will give a slightly different explanation. Let us say the parents. Okay, there are father and mother. Now they are dividing a property. All right. Now when the property division is happening, they have 3 daughters and 1 son. Okay. So they are giving the son half the property. Half. And the 3 daughters, they are giving half of the rest. That is, so let us say the property is worth 1 crore. They are giving 50 lakhs to the son, and they are giving the balance 50 lakhs between these 3 girls. Right? Now when this is happening, maybe you are the husband of one of the girls. And you will say, how is this possible? Why should he get 50 lakhs? I want my wife should get half of it. Because my wife has taken care of this family more than that they have taken care, than that boy has taken care. He is not even bothered. He is gone away. But these three daughters, they have taken care. And this one, my wife has taken care of the parents quite a lot. So she should get at least 50 lakhs. So you interfered. You are the husband of that girl. So you interfered. Then a fight ensues. Because that person will say, no, my father and mother gave me 50%. I am the son of the family. I should get this much. The daughters say, do you know the Indian Supreme Court? It has ruled that property has to be divided amongst four. Okay, you have to get quarter, I have to get quarter, other daughter, and the fourth one. So all the four people will get quarter, 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 equal in quantity. It cannot be unequal. So the son sues these people, says, no, I am supposed to get half of it. Do you understand? This is called stupidity. And you got embroiled in that action by just taking part in it. Maybe you are not the husband, you are just friend. And the friend says, yeah, tumko to 25%. You should get 25% of it, But you should fight for 50. Now, unnecessary, you have poked your nose in the middle. Please remember, there is a very fine universal law. And the universal law states, what has to come to you will any which way come to you. Isn't that the universal law? Can anybody stop anything coming to you? No. God has willed that thing to come to you. So it will anyway come to you. So why are you fighting over this? Why are you interfering? So in the same way, human beings interfere in other people's lives. When you interfere in somebody else's life or your own people's lives, you are causing karma to yourself, not to them. They will be a part of a little karma in their name, but you are going to get completely embroiled in this karmic action. So you are trapped. So anytime when you utter a word, even by mistake from your mouth, Maya listens to those words. She creates these illusions in the world. So if one sage says there are three, for him she will create only three. Some sage says five. For that sage she will create only five. Some sage will say there are 25 of them, not 2, 3 and 5. 25. For that sage she will create 25. Same principles broken down. Like I explained to you, the idli can become dosa also. It can become uttapa also. It is the same stuff which is packaged differently and given to different people. That is Maya's job. But the more you interfere, the more you are going to get entangled in this cycle. So Krishna is saying, howsoever the sages may speak, it is quite in order, it is all right. For all the categories are included in every enumeration. Everything is included. In that dosa or the idli batter, everything is included in that. It's just like as if the whole thing is there in that. And what is impossible for those who speak, accepting my wonder working Maya? Sir, why do you think that it is difficult for these sages to say what they say? Some says 5, some says 17, some says 20, somebody will say 23, somebody says 27, somebody says 28. Doesn't matter to me. Maya is the wonder working Maya. She is the mother of everything. She is that magical person who can create whatever that is needed. So now I hope in this you got your lesson. Never open your mouth and interfere in other people's lives unnecessarily. Stay out of all this. Spiritual people just sit in one place and do not bother their head about what is happening in this world. They will say, किसी को शादी करनी है करो, not my concern. Somebody wants to get well, okay, not my concern. Let Maya will handle it. Somebody wants a child, their concern, not mine. You think I am going to create babies out of air? No, it's not my concern. They have just brought it to my notice, doesn't matter. I am no way involved in this action. So a true sage is not at all involved in any action. He doesn't give any kind of opinions anywhere. He doesn't interfere in the working of this world. Do you get the point? A true sage, a real sage, doesn't interfere in this world. There is a place called Tiruvannamalai. There was a sage which stayed over there. His name was Ramana Maharshi. Ramana Maharshi never indulged himself either in politics or giving judgments to people. He never bothered whether the village had water or no water. He was not bothered about rivers. He was not bothered about bridges. He was not bothered about hospitals or people getting well or not well. Why should he bother? He was just sitting in one place. Sai Baba never bothered whether he said, during Sai Baba's time of Shirdi, he never said, we should have an airport over here. There should be a railway station in Shirdi, so that everybody can come. He never bothered about it. People came from very far with Tonga and all those kind of things. He never said, oh, let me get the nice, aeroplane over here. He never said that I want to create roadways over here so that the buses can come. The state transport buses will come over here. He never said any of those things. Sages who are real sages do not interfere. Ramakrishna Paramahansa just lived in the temple premises for many, many years. He never bothered to go anywhere. Alright? He just stayed there, met all those people who came. Some people wrote about him, so he became famous. Alright? There is many people who wrote about him. Pandit Shashadhar said a lot of words about him. The Brahmo Samaj people went and tom-tom about him in their newspapers and various other places. That is why people started coming over there. He never said, oh, there are no roads outside this temple, I have to build a road. He never said anything like that. He never said that we have to dig a well over here or create different kinds of things. So true sages do not interfere in the material world. If you are in spiritual and if you are poking your nose in all those things, all right, please understand one thing. You are a part of that karma. If you are interfering in anything, it is your problem. You might be a sage, doesn't matter. If you are some great, great guru or maharaja or something like that, and you are creating all those hospitals, let us say you are making a hospital or you are making a dam or something like that. Now I will give you an understanding. If you are the person who is making the dam, and if there are more than 10,000 houses displaced because of the dam, what did I say? If you are creating, say, a dam, and because of that particular action you are displacing 10,000 people from a village, you are giving them some other houses to stay, no doubt about it. But this displacement which you have caused will be your karma. The 10,000 people who got displaced, Maya is looking at you. So that action will be on your head. And the curses of those people will fall on you. Remember in yesterday's Das Bodh, any curse that you utter from your mouth, you are creating a demon. So as many people that are there, if you have displaced 10,000 villagers, Their curses are in your name. They have created these 10,000 demons which are going to destroy you. You think in this life? Not necessarily. It could be any life. So never interfere. And that is the reason why Krishna says, whatever people say, my Maya is there, she will create and give. It is not as you put it, but it is as I put it. So, we are going to do the next verse now. So, we are doing chapter 17 from the Uddhav Gita. We are doing verse 5. Krishna is saying to Uddhava, it is not as you put it, but it is as I put it. This sort of a fighting over the issue is due to my powers, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, which are so difficult to get rid of. This is a very, very loaded sentence. Do you understand? It's an extremely loaded sentence. The repercussions are tremendous in this sentence. He says it is not as you put it, it is the way I put it. I have defined this universe. All right? People think that they are responsible. And they say, this is how I say it. They mean and they believe that they are responsible, and then they interfere in this universe's creation. So this sort of a fighting over the issue is due to my powers. They are called Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, which are so difficult to get rid of. Those who think that they are doing good to mankind. Who are these people who think that they are doing good to mankind? I will plant 1 billion trees. People say these words, isn't it? Even Imran Khan in Pakistan says that I will plant 3 billion trees, and which he did, by the way, in Pakistan. So there he is building. Who said these words? That fellow said it. So some Babaji over here will say, I will plant trees. I will do this. Why am I talking about Babajis and all these fellows? It's because these are the sages who have defined 3, 7, 11, all those things that they said. So many distinctions. They say whatever they feel like. Krishna is saying they are allowed to say because they are egoistic. They don't understand. Because they are driven by my principles called Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Actually, these Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas are the ones which are making them do what they have to. They say because they are either Sattvic, they are Rajasic, or they are Tamasic. The three distinctions of these people are the Sattvic kind. I just want this whole region to be lush and green. They say these words. They will say that I want to get the river water from, Godavari river to this place. Okay? Krishna flows from here, Kaveri flows from Karnataka, but I think I will get the Godavari from there to Karnataka. So they will talk like this. Oh, Sattvic person, huh? Very nice. I will do it the way I want it. It is not as you put it, but it is as I put it. So these egoistic people talk this language. They have ego, arrogance, and they have that attitude of I, me, myself. And then they talk also in that manner. Remember one thing. If you are in spiritual, it is not your job to keep on poking your nose in other people's matters. It is God who is going to do what he has to do. If he wants to get water or rain in this place, he will get it. Why are you interfering? Today there is an issue of the people who have migrated from Burma into Bangladesh and now they have come into India also. The issues are there of Rohingyas, they are called. So there are some people who are saying send them back. That is a choice. It is a politicians who can say it. But if you are a sage, it is not your job to interfere in that. That's not your calling, sir. You just got to stay out of all these controversies. You are not supposed to interfere in any of these things. So if Maya wants to create 7 categories, 10 categories, 28 categories, 27 categories, what is it to you? Why do you have to poke your nose in this? So when so many sages and so many people keep on distinction, making this distinction, so many categories are there, so many things are there, that is their problem. Don't bother. So Krishna is explaining to Uddhava and saying, don't bother about it, sir. There are 7 categories, there are 10 categories, there are 12 categories. Everything is Maya's creation only. Maya is my own Maya, not anybody else's. And whatever that person is having a narrow point of view. Don't indulge in it. Don't indulge in narrow point of view. For a greater cause, I will tell you something. Human beings have this tendency of interference. Where you are not supposed to be bothered, you will poke your dirty nose over there. This is like this and that is like that. Why do you have to do that? Don't get involved in any of these things. It is your ego talking. So, he says this sort of fighting over the issue is due to my own powers. I make these idiots fight over each other. Only a true sage will never indulge in anything. He will say, Krishna, whatever you say is right. Okay? Krishna, whatever you say is right. I am not even going to tell the world that there are 7 varieties or there are 10 varieties or there are this or there are that. I don't want to interfere in your creations. You know what to do. Let your Maya do what she wants to do. That is her choice. It is your dream. She is just going to make it happen. But just because I put my nose in the middle, oh my God, I'm going to get bloodied. The nose, I'm going to get smashed in the middle. So this is the truth in your life also. You are a student of spirituality. Please don't get involved in activities which are the stupidest of their kind. Because there are lots of people who will make you fall into those actions. I was visiting, I was in some ashram somewhere. And this Babaji told me, you have to sell my courses. So what bullshit are you talking? So you're not a Babaji if you're telling me to sell a course. No, I am doing this course on meditation and on yogasana and this kriya and that kriya, all kinds of kriyas and yogasanas and all that. And they literally force their own students to market those courses for them. I walked out of that place. Why? Because it is not that person's job to sell courses. Spirituality is not sold in courses. So I made my statement very clear. I said, I am not here to sell courses. Okay? That's it. I am going out. And I walked out of that place. That is something which is what Krishna is talking about. It is called unnecessary interfering in my way of doing things. Interference in Maya's world. Do not interfere and create distinction like this. Got it? Everybody wants to market something or the other. Don't indulge in these kind of things. Please understand my statement. Don't even get entangled in it, because if you are a part of it, that is your karma. It's because of you. People come and donate. People do something. They join the courses or they do something like that. Their karma is on your head. It is a very dangerous thing. If somebody is joining because they have tensions in their life, because they have problems, they have issues with their family members or their bosses, or they don't have a job, and they say, okay, please do this course, this is very good, this will help you. Okay? And you think you are doing some help in this world. You say, yes, this course is very helpful. You should join this course. Are you the one who interfered in their life? God wanted them to suffer. Who are you to poke the nose in the middle? So you did. Now, whatever that happens to them, it is your karma, sir. Because of that, because they did that thing, they may suffer more depression. They may get entangled in a lot of other things. That is your problem, because you poked your dirty nose in the middle. And this is what he is saying. What is impossible for those who speak accepting my wonder working Maya? It is not as you put it, it is the way I put it. This sort of fighting over the issue is due to my own powers, sattva, rajas and tamas, which are so difficult to get rid of. It is very difficult to get rid of sattva, rajas and tamas. Sattva, rajas and tamas can put you in the cycle of karma. Don't indulge in that. So this is the way in which Krishna is explaining to Uddhava. So we will move to the next verse. We have sufficient time for one more verse if possible. So we are doing chapter 17, verse 6 from the Uddhav Gita. It is the disturbance amongst these that causes the doubt, which is the ground of contentions among the disputants. This doubt vanishes when one attains calmness of mind and self-control, and after that dispute too is at an end. It is the disturbance amongst these. The disturbance amongst these gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. Let me again bring you back to the story. There are two people fighting, and according to you, this man is right and this man is wrong. Have you decided who is right and who is wrong? Or let us take another case. These are 5 people and they are bashing one person up. And your heart is crying out for this one person. You say, the poor fellow, he's getting beaten so badly, I should interfere in this fight and let them not beat this man. So, out of your sattva guna, you interfered. The previous example was rajoguna. It is because of rajas, you thought that there is right and there is wrong. Third example, there are 5 people beating and there is one person being beaten up. That person is doing something wrong. Maybe he has eloped with a girl. He has eloped with a girl and he was caught. And these 5 people are bashing him up because they say, you cannot run away from this, we cannot take this girl away and run away. And so you join the gang of these 5 people because you think that this is not a right thing. How can he do this to us? And you also start bashing him up. You have joined the gang because of your tamoguna. So the same example, I gave you 3 examples. Sattva, rajas or tamas. He says it's a disturbance among these. Krishna says it's a disturbance amongst these that causes the doubt, which is the ground of contention among the disputants. So this is a dispute. The fight in the middle of the road was a dispute. So in the material world, the more you interfere in this world, The more you poke your dirty nose in people's affairs, the more you get embroiled in these kind of affairs, the more you want to be a part of this right and the wrong thing, the more your mind says, what they are doing is not right. The property is being given to the son. That is not right. This is the previous example that I gave you. 3 girls and 1 son. You are interfering in issues which are none of your business. So you will be between these 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. And because of these disturbances amongst these, that cause the doubt, which is the ground of contention among the disputants. So in the spiritual world, these sages, what they did was, they had their own sattva, rajas, and tamas describing them. This is good, this is not good. And so for that reason, the disputants, all these different people giving different explanations. Somebody said 3, somebody said 5, somebody said 7, somebody said 9, somebody said 17, somebody said 19, then 21, then 28. It is the disturbance. And because of this, sattva, rajas, and tamas, there were disputants. Everybody disputed with each other. Everybody thought that they are right from their narrow point of view. This doubt vanishes when one attains calmness of mind and self-control. And after that, dispute too is to an end. Don't get involved in controversies. Don't take sides. Don't interfere in what is happening in this world. It is none of your business. Somebody has to do something. Why are you bothered about it? At this point, a person who was a rich man, who was sitting with Ramakrishna Paramahansa, said, "But isn't it right on our part that we have to make hospitals? I have to build hospitals so that people will get the services, so that people can get cured." Ramakrishna Paramahansa looked at this person and says, "Of course. God uses idiots like you to make his hospitals. If God wants to build a hospital, wants to build a road, wants to build a tank, wants to change the rivers, wants to, make this whole place green, wants to plant 10,000 or 1 million trees, he will have idiots like you placed over there. They are not spiritual people. Okay? So if God wants to get it done through people like you, he will use you to get it done. But if you are a spiritual person, it is not your job to interfere and poke your nose in this. So you have to be peaceful and calm where you are. Do not interfere in anybody's life. This doubt vanishes when one attains calmness of mind and self-control. Control yourself. Don't get involved. Don't utter dirty words from your mouth. Shut your mouth and your mind. Do not curse anybody. Do not say anything bad. Do not give opinions. Do not give ideas. You are not some great sheikhs that you can talk whatever you feel like. Silence. So have this calmness of mind and self-control. And then what happens to this dispute? The dispute will come to an end. Because you are not interfering in it, are you? So spiritual people, those who are joining my satsang, please understand, if you are true spiritualist, don't do anything which is going to put you in a karmic path. Unnecessary, don't do things which are not your concern. If you have a guru, go and talk to him. Ask his permission, or he will show you which path to take. Just follow that path, and the karma is his, not yours. But if you do not listen, then it is your funeral. Your karma, Maya darling, and you Both of you handle your case. I am not even bothered about it. Krishna is saying these words. He says this dispute will come to an end if only you have a little peace and calm in your life and do not have you have a policy of non-interference. Got it? So we have come to the end of verse 6. So tomorrow we will do verse 7 onwards. Thank you very much. You have a great day today and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.